JaNee. I pray that you all are well. I pray that your families are well. I'm going to give some people a few minutes before I start chatting. Not chatting, but teaching, because I'm not chatting, I'm teaching. Let's see. Okay. Let's see here. Hello, hello. Hiya, hiya, hiya. One more thing, and then we will be done, amazing people. We will be done. Okay. All righty. Okay, perfect. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I pray that you all are well. I pray that your families are well. I pray that you all have had an amazing and sensational Sunday. I pray that your heart and your minds are prepared and positioned for a fantastic and wonderful week. I pray that regardless of what happened on last week in your life, that you are prepared and excited about making this the most dynamic week ever. I pray that your joy be filled. I pray that you be so full of joy this week that nothing but positive things come into your midst. I pray that you be a light in somebody's dark place. I pray, excuse me, gotta get some tissue. But I pray that let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. I pray that the only tears that you shed on this week are tears of complete joy. Welcome to the Dr. JaNee channel here on YouTube. I am Dr. JaNee Mobley, and thank you so much. And I help women overcome mindsets that prevent profit, progress, and prosperity so that they will ascend and accelerate in their purpose. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel and share this link with about 10 or 10, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. So I'm glad that you all are on. If you are new to my channel, just drop a 1. If you are a returner, drop a 2. I always love to see who are those who are new to my channel, and I love to see those, of course, who are returners. I appreciate you all for taking the time out to invest in yourself by learning some things with me, and greatly appreciate you. If you would drop the states or the cities, if you feel comfortable, that you all reside in, just drop them in the comments. Also, I have posted a link below for you to get your free gift, the 5 mistakes that women make that prevent them from profiting from their purpose. I actually am going to send, I'm actually going to put an updated link in here uh, to make it better. Okay. All right. So let me ask you this question. Have you ever said things like, I can't? Is that like a huge statement that you make? Are you daring to move forward in your purpose? And sometimes you get frustrated and aggravated because you are having a hard time just trying to figure out and navigate through it all, and you find yourself saying I can't. So let me tell you, tonight I am specifically talking to you. I want to share this, and I'm big on definitions, really, really big on definitions, right? So tonight I'm going to talk to you all why saying you can't is a killer to you progressing in your purpose. So let me first start by saying this, and I'm going to put things into context by giving definitions. And we know what these words mean, but the Bible teaches me that in all of my getting, get understanding. And the power of understanding something, it means that you comprehend it. And when you comprehend something, it positions you to make a different move. It positions you to make changes. It positions you to make better choices. So as an example, just general example, if you know and you understand that high amounts or ingesting high amounts or consuming rather high amounts of sodium will lead to an elevation of your blood pressure, you then have the power and the ability, because you understand that, you know what, if I'm consuming a whole bunch of potato chips or a whole bunch of pickles, you become aware that I need to minimize the amount of products or foods or even beverages that have high amounts of salt in them. And what does that do? It has the potential for helping you to reduce your blood pressure. So when it comes down to educating, right, it is so important that you grasp an understanding of everything it is that you're reading and everything that you're consuming. So while the words are very, very simple, I love to look them up because it gives me and it heightens and it increases my comprehension, my understanding, and my competence, which increases my confidence and my surety of what I already know, right? So whenever you say you can't, right? So let's break down what can't is. So let's first go in reverse, right? No, we'll start moving forward. So when you say can, right? When you say I can, right? The word can means able. Can implies that you have the ability, right? It is actually a positive affirmation. When you think about when people create affirmations and state affirmations, affirmations always begin with I can. Positive affirmations, when you affirm something, to affirm something, you're making a statement. Okay. So whenever people start affirmations, they always say personally I, and then they say can, which means that they are able to do whatever it is that they're about to say. So when you say I can be successful, you are implying that you are able and have the ability to be successful. Okay. When you say I can lose weight, you're saying that you have the awareness, that you have the power, you have the ability, and you are able to lose weight. And it increases the likelihood of you doing so because you're aware that you can, right? So what happens when we say can't or cannot? So not is by definition, and this is what I got from Webster, not implies or not is used as a negative, I'm going to say that again, negative function of the preceding word, meaning it is not is a negative function of the word that came before it. So if whenever you say can, means that you have the ability, you're able. But when you say cannot or you can't, what it's saying is, because you added not or the apostrophe T, you're saying that you're not, as in you're not able to do whatever it is that you're saying that you're doing. So why is this so important when we're talking about progressing in our purpose? Because I'm big on purpose, because our purpose is about impact. Whenever I think about purpose, I think about the prophet Jeremiah, and I always refer to his story for so many levels. I refer to the prophet Jeremiah, especially the first chapter in the book of Jeremiah, that when God is literally affirming, he is teaching Jeremiah who he is, right? And he's telling Jeremiah, look, before I formed you in the womb of your mother's belly, I knew you. So he knew, he was communicating with Jeremiah what his purpose was here on this earth. Then Jeremiah's responsibility was to receive what God was saying and begin to implement it. However, if you read the passage in Jeremiah chapter 1, Jeremiah is actually basically stating that he can't. Right? What God is telling him that he can do, Jeremiah is convinced that he can't. Why? Because he's looking at his own strength. So when you look at your purpose, remember your purpose is the very intention that God had when he created you in the first place. It's the very reason that you're here. It is the gateway as to how you're able to impact the people that God has called for you to serve. So just like Jeremiah, a lot of the times when we have a purpose, sometimes as we navigate through that purpose, as we're trying to implement, as if you're using your purpose as an avenue of business, even just as I am of impacting others, sometimes it gets frustrating along the journey. Hey, Archivia. Right? Sometimes it gets frustrating along the journey. Sometimes it gets discouraging along the journey when you're building a business. Because I always say this, and people do not tell people this because maybe they're unaware or they don't want to tell people the truth. But when you're building a business, you're not just building followers. The first thing that you're going to build and will always build as you build your business is you. It's not your followers. It's not your influence. It's not even your impact. You are going to build you first and always. If you don't remember nothing else, good morning. If you don't remember nothing else, because they said good morning. That's why I said good morning. I live in Georgia, so it is good and in the PM right now for me. Right? So here's the thing. You have to understand that you're going to build yourself. You're going to build resilience. You're going to build consistency. You're going to build persistence. And here's the thing. What that looks like is not a smooth path. Because what you're doing is you're building a part of you that you have yet to discover and uncover yet. So what happens is on the journey to you becoming resilient and persistent and disciplined, you're going to have experiences along the way that are going to build that resilience muscle, that are going to build that persistence muscle. Right now, I am literally every morning I get up and I do 20 push-ups. About 7 out of the 20 push-ups are the non-augmented ones. It's the one where I'm literally pushing my full body weight. Now the remainder I'm building up. Okay, y'all, I'm building up. So the remainder 13 are augmented. I'm on my knees and I'm actually pushing up. So it's not as much resistance. Let me tell y'all, if nothing else, it is building a spirit of consistency and discipline. The other thing that I'm learning is that it's building my confidence in myself. Because when I feel like I can't get those push-ups in, when it becomes difficult, I literally practice telling myself the right things that are going to push me along the way. So what happens with people when you say that you can't, you literally tear down the ability or the creative part of your mind to begin to figure out how you can make this very thing happen. But let me give you another perspective. If you are moving in your purpose, just like Jeremiah, God tells Jeremiah, I'm going to put the words in your mouth. You ain't got to create the words. I'm going to give you everything it is that you need to say to these people, to the places that I'm going to send you. In that same way, and this is the revelation that God gave me, He's not going to give us an assignment to only leave us stranded. One of the things that I love about Abraham didn't know exactly where he was going, but he trusted God to know that even when he took a step, that God was going to lead him to the place that he needed to go. We have to have that type of confidence and surety that if God gave us our purpose, whether you do hair, whether you are an author, whether you are a clothing designer, whether you are an electrician, a plumber, whatever your purpose is to impact others, you may not feel like you have all of the answers and the resources. right? You may not feel like you have all of the answers and the resources, but you have to trust and know that if God gave you this gift, guess what? Just like he had Jeremiah, he got you. But whenever you make statements like you can't, you literally are saying what you have, what God has given you the ability to do. You are vocally stating that you do not have that ability. And one thing that we have to remember is that as being human beings, we have the power of using our words. Our words have greater power than our physical hands. There's a scripture in the Bible that tells us that there's power of life or death, which lets me know that we get to choose by our words whether we're going to bring life to our lives or the lives of others, or we're going to bring death to our assignment, our lives, or the lives of others. That's one of the reasons why even when our children are playing games, and I heard our oldest son correcting our daughter today because I had to teach him because he plays a game, and you know when the character dies, they say, "Oh dang, they died." No, 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 no. You ain't die because you shall live, right? So I teach them that the character that they're playing died. So he was teaching her today. No, you didn't die. The character that you had died. Right? Because our words have power. There's another scripture, and I don't know. You can look this up even through Google, but it says that we are snared by the words of our mouth. I did a video on that. Let me tell you, a live on that. Let me tell y'all, the revelation that God gave me. When you look up snared, it means trapped. Y'all, I have learned to shift totally what I say because of that definition. Our words have the ability to trap us. So here's the question. Do you want to be trapped by negative words? Or do you want to be trapped by positive words? By words that are going to breathe life? So instead of saying that you can't, when you're talking about moving in your purpose or just doing anything, I want you to get into the habit of asking yourself, how can I? This is what how means, right? How means by what means or manner. So when you say how, your brain begins because our minds are so powerful, right? When you say how, you literally are positioning yourself to figure out by what means and by what manner am I going to figure this out. I'm going to say that again. Instead of saying I can't, ask yourself, how can I? You may not know how to build a business or start a business, but don't say that you can't. How can I? Whenever you say how, you're saying by what means and with can do, or how can I use my ability to do whatever it is that I'm daring to do. So instead of saying I can't, or instead of saying that you can't succeed, because I don't want to make that about me, right? Instead of saying that you can't succeed, you ask yourself the question, how, by what means or manner do I or can I use my ability to succeed in this area of my life? That's literally, again, we have to be aware of the words that we speak over our lives because they matter. I don't care what nobody says. They matter. They matter. So I have it noted here. So when we ask how, we literally position our thoughts and our brains to figure out by what means or what manner do we make what we're attempting to do happen. So whenever you come against a roadblock as you're building your business, as you're moving forward in your purpose, I don't care what type of stumbling block, I don't care what pitfalls you come to, ask, how can I? How can I do this? Not I can't. No, how can I? Begin to position your brain to figure out by what means can I figure this out? How can I use my ability to figure out whatever it is that I'm doing? I'll give you all a quick story. In 2014, prior to that, even before that, our co-pastor told me, she said, she gave me a prophecy. She said that I was going to write a book. Now, mind you, looking at somebody who hated to read at one point in her life, let alone had the thought process of writing a book. But I was like, okay, God, I'm in receiving mode. And I just received it, right? I was literally pregnant with our first son. We were homeless, which is a different story for another day. So talking about hope in the midst of what was challenging. But I had to see beyond that, right? And at the latter part of, no, when our son was born, I literally started writing a book. Now, let me tell y'all, I had no background on writing. I am a pharmacist, okay? So my background is in healthcare and in science. No English, no literature, none of that. So I didn't know anything about writing a book. But I knew that if God gave me the instruction to write this book, the ability and the resources were already there or coming. So I was just like, you know what? I know something about writing. I've written papers before. So oh my gosh, I so wish I would have kept it. I bought one of those paper folders that had the 3 prongs in the center. And I got some notebook paper. My husband and I were literally transitioning out of being homeless. We had just got into our new place and we had our son. I said, you know what? I'm going to create a schedule to write every night for 15 minutes. And I wrote every night. I ain't know nothing about publishing. I ain't know nothing about copywriting. I didn't know anything about ISBN numbers. Y'all, I didn't have a clue. And what I want you to figure out is that you don't have to have all of the answers. You just have to have the heart of Abraham to believe, to trust, to have hope, and to take the first step. So I literally, mind you, I didn't know how we were going to get money because you got to pay for a copyright. You got to pay to get books published and printed. You got to pay for all of that. But I just knew it was going to come. I had none but time because I didn't have a job at the time. Excuse me. I was just like, I had a newborn. Like he was only a few weeks old. So every night when him and my husband went to sleep, I stayed up for 15 minutes every night. And I just wrote. I didn't know anything about like a strategy to write a book. I just wrote. And long story short, the book was completed. The book was completed. And God made provision that by the time I finished writing my book, I ended up getting a job and I was able to pay for the bulk to get all of my books printed and delivered to my house. Get the ISB. I got all of that. But I started with what I didn't know. I didn't know a whole lot about publishing a book or writing a book. I just started with what I knew about writing. And that was just writing on paper. What am I saying? You may be at a place in your purpose, in your business, and you feel like you just don't know where to go. You may feel like you can't keep going. But I want you to ask the question, how can I? When you say how, the Bible tells us, ask and we shall receive. When you say how, it ends in a question mark, in simplicity. Whenever you ask a question, the expectation and the positioning when you ask how, remember, is by what means. It implies by what means or manner. So you're literally positioning your mind and you're asking God how. So you're positioning yourself to receive an answer. But when you make statements like you can't, when you say you can't, it ends in a period. A statement usually means that is done. But when you ask questions, you open up yourself and you open up God to begin to shift things in the universe on your behalf. So quit killing the progression of your purpose. Quit killing the progression of your business by saying that you can't. Instead, ask, how can I? So that you position your brain to transition to the creative side to figure out how. It's amazing that when we ask God questions, His word is true. We shall receive. So your answer may come directly, it may come by a revelation, it may come by a person, it may come by a TV show. But trust and know you're going to get the answer. So don't be discouraged, be encouraged, and move forward in your purpose. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you all. And remember to know your worth. Good night, y'all.